Decision Diaries.
Welcome to Decision Diaries. Today on Decision Diaries, we are going to talk about the decision to be a volunteer coach or possibly a low paid coach if you ever get paid. But
You get
being
paid for this?
Yeah. Well, being a coach. And as you can hear right beside me, it is my husband once again that I am going to be interviewing about his decision to coach. And what's really kind of interesting is you started coaching really at a young age. So,
Right, I did.
As we go back and we talk about your first coaching experience and what sort of motivated you to go from being a soccer player to being a soccer coach.
Well, the decision to coach, that's a good one. When I look back on it, it just seemed like it was a natural progression after high school to coach because there wasn't very many leagues in Jacksonville at the time for soccer players that I knew of. Of course, later I found out there was one at the beach, and which I promptly joined. But yeah, I coaching was how I stayed in the game. The game I was able to give back to the game that gave me so much. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to do this. So if it wasn't for soccer, I probably would not have done a lot of things I've done, to be honest with you. So it was a way for me to give back, and it kept giving back to me. I gave all my time and effort, and it gave me, a wife, 2 boys.
It's going to give you a little bit more as we get into a couple of stories here.
We got that going for us.
Yeah. So, okay. So first of all, some people nowadays, they seem to have, you can become a volunteer coach at a pretty young age, like you can do it in your teens, but your first time coaching, you were in your 20s. Is that right?
Yeah, I was in my 20s. I was literally driving over a overpass on the north side, and there used to be this old golf range, and I saw kids out there playing soccer. And so I promptly turned around, like, what is this? This is great. I need to join this. I need to help make soccer players on the north side, because that's really was my goal, is to make the north side of Jacksonville a better area for soccer, because there was none at the time.
Because I was at the beach, and that's where all the best soccer players were. All the best soccer players were at the beach
and
Orange Park. So we are talking about a side of town. Everybody's got that one town that was y'all's side of town was better for baseball and football players. Frankly,
we were way better.
At the beaches, we didn't have much of that.
You didn't.
No,
not at the time. You didn't have football. Or you probably had a little bit of baseball.
Yeah, so it's interesting you picked up soccer, but so
now that's a whole nother story.
Now you find this team.
So I found the team, and I went out there. I saw them knocking the ball around a little bit. So I walked out and introduced myself to the coach at the time. Completely just random. I walk out there and start talking to him, and he needs help. He doesn't know the game. He was an uncle of one of the players on the squad.
Well, that's the other thing. I applaud you for going up to a random team, and you are 21?
21, maybe?
You're 21 years old. You're going up to a random team, and, I hate to say it, but I would have been a little suspect. But I'm sure if you were talking to him, he realized that you had a love for the game and that he didn't know what the heck he was doing.
He did not know. He had no clue. So I started helping out, and then the next year I got my own team. And
how old were the players?
I want to say they were under 14. So they were.
See, now that's a cute age, right? They're under 14. They're not like, it's not like you walked up to a group of kindergartners and first, second, and third graders.
Right.
These are kids that are, have some athletic ability and
wait, back it up. These kids didn't have athletic ability. I got the runts. I got the kids with no soccer skill. My first real team where I coached by myself, where I was the head coach, I had very few athletes. I had one, and I got all these other players, and I basically had to coach them up. We went from getting blown out the first game to the last game where we tied 0-0 with the best team in the league, and it was a great game. It was so much fun. And that's when I realized I knew I could coach. And that's what I think what I get out of the game is when you coach somebody, or you help develop a kid playing soccer or baseball or football, and you're developing this kid and you're showing this kid what he should be doing. If you trap the ball with your foot, knock it to the right to the pass, make a pass with your instep, and you're constantly doing that, and you're constantly digging in and showing them how to do these things, and they do it on the field, and you see it work, and the kid sees it work. The kid sees it working. Yeah, that's probably better. It's kind of like magic. It's like getting a million likes on Facebook. It's like, oh my
Oh,
God, it's
yeah.
like it's
I like it.
euphoria. It's like, holy
Yeah.
cow, this is it. And yeah, so that kind of once I saw that a couple of times, I was hooked. I could not stop coaching because that it you just don't get that in any other thing. It's a I guess it's a teacher mentality. I don't know, but
Mentoring,
mentoring, yeah,
the feedback of mentoring someone and then watching your mentoree actually achieve things
right,
based off of your wisdom, I guess. I
right,
don't know.
and
And then how
that's
much time are you, I mean, you're in your 20s. So what's really sad is here you are, you're looking for a team to coach and mentor, and I believe I'm in another universe where I'm just drunk. And so I feel like I'm so impressed that without having any sort of relative on the team, that this is how you are choosing. What is this? You're spending your weekends, you're spending your
Saturday
weekdays?
mornings. Saturday
I mean,
mornings.
Saturday morning early, what time?
I probably our games probably started at 9, and the first game would be at 9. Second game would be at probably 10:30.
So two games,
No,
two
well, it
games.
would be one game, but it would be two. We had four teams the first time I ever coached. So the first two teams played at 9. The
Okay, now
second
you're
team
getting
played at
into like minutia. But
yeah.
anyways, in
But anyway,
general, you are spending your Saturday mornings while I'm in another universe
you're probably still
nursing a
sleeping. Yeah,
hangover.
you're probably
Yeah,
still
I am
sleeping.
nursing a hangover. So you're waking up, you're spending your mornings. You do have a different girlfriend at this
Yes,
point. So is she
she
watching
was
you
not a
coach?
fan. No, no, she wasn't a fan at all.
And see now at 21, I think I also too would have been quite selfish if I was the girlfriend to be like, you want to spend time with someone else's children rather than spending time with me, your girlfriend, on a Saturday morning. And then also, you had weekday
Yeah, I
practices.
practiced. I think we only did one day a week. We are only allowed to have one day
Okay.
a week.
And then you're in college
Right.
and you also had a job.
Yes.
So your passion for coaching must have just
Yeah,
really
it kicked in.
inspired you to kick
Yeah,
in.
it kicked
Yeah.
in pretty hard. I'd like to think that it was hard. It wasn't hard.
Oh, and
I
you didn't
mean,
get paid.
no, there was no payment
Okay, so
involved.
there
You know what I
all
got
the
at the
things
end of
that
it?
motivate me were not motivating
Yeah,
you.
that was the
It's
coin operator.
amazing. Like how did we get together?
Yeah.
So okay. So okay, a couple things, right? First of all, we've mentioned before that you're coaching at the side of town that is not known for soccer. And now you're helping out this dad, and we're talking about like up to age 12,
Right.
13.
Hmm.
Okay. And then you decide to take it to another level, or you get an opportunity. What happened?
So the PAL league, they kind of folded
Oh,
there. So
okay.
it was a shame. I think they lost the field or something, or they moved it to another facility. And I was on the north side of Jacksonville, and I was like, I don't want to be in Arlington or wherever they moved it to. Like I don't need to be over there. I'm good. And these kids weren't the kids I was coaching. They were not moving over. So I was like, well, I'll just find another league, or something will pop up. And it did. I just so happened to have a professor in at JU, and she said, you should come over to West Side Soccer. We need a coach for our team. I said, okay. So I did. And the rest really is history after that. I mean, that's really where I learned and honed in my game, and really got good at coaching. I got a lot better as I got older, but that's really where I started cutting my teeth and learning things, and taking it to another level. I didn't the teams weren't fantastic because I'd always get the kids that
Didn't
needed
have a dad
that
on the
didn't have a
team.
dad on team, or they weren't the best coached kids before. I mean, I had kids out there that could not run around a block.
And then what ages were you up to?
Uh, I did. I want to say I did. I know I did a U10 team, a co-ed U10 team. That's when I met you. I did a co-ed U14 team, maybe. That's where met Rick Meyer, the referee.
Oh,
And
okay,
I talked him
okay.
into refereeing. So yeah, I mean,
So
when
let's
I
talk about when you met me,
oh boy,
because
here we
that's
go.
this is
Well, yeah.
part of it.
So
This is part of the great coaching story. No,
right.
I think this
So
is.
let me tell my side of the
Oh,
story first.
what?
Yeah, no,
No.
no. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you my side. I was coaching Saturday mornings. Every Saturday I was at the field, and I'd met you in I think around April 15th, right around tax day if I recall, and and I met you that Saturday, and then we met that Sunday and we hung out, and I think I had practiced Tuesday night or something. I made I think I told the parents, hey, I met a cool chick, and
Oh, you told the parents about me.
I think I did.
Okay.
But we practiced and had a good practice, and the games were coming. The season was coming to an end because it was mid May, and I'll let you finish.
Okay. So we met in spring. And another thing that coaching and just soccer can bring is that, as we mentioned before, we were a blind date setup, but the person who introduced us was somebody you played soccer with.
Correct.
And they didn't mention that you coach soccer. But I think it's really important to tell people who I was at that age. What are we? We're 25.
25, 26,
We're 25,
26.
and I am nowhere near children. I don't like sitting on planes with children at this point. I wear business suits. I go to business happy hours. I'm a business lady, and I have zero motherly instinct. So I think even if they told me that you were a soccer coach, I'd have been like, that's cool, maybe weird, because why isn't he out drinking and partying or doing something else? That I would have maybe questioned it. But, anyways, so we're dating, and we are now at that point where I think we had said I love yous to each other, and we were definitely monogamous, and you are definitely
We
over
weren't
at my
monogamous because
we were not
intimate
intimate.
intimate with
Okay,
each
at this
other.
point, this is important to the story, but you were over at my house every single night.
Yep.
So my roommates definitely knew, I liked you a lot. You liked me a lot. We were together every single day. So you take me to this, what is this, the end of the season
Soccer party
soccer party.
Saturday night.
I feel like this is a complete setup because you took me there. It was a Saturday night. I thought we were just going to drop in, say, thank you, collect your little gift cards and your little thank you cards, which I had no idea what people do for coaches because I had no motherly instincts. And so we drop in, and you start running around with the kids because they're chasing you, which I think, by the way, you kind of were trying to look sort of adorable at the time.
It was a
But
trying there, Lynn.
you,
Come on
yeah,
now.
no, this was all, I feel like this was all the setup. So then what's amazing to me is these mothers, now I understand, being a mother now, that these mothers looked over at me as there's the coach's girlfriend. And they felt the need to come up to me and tell me how wonderful of a dad you were going to be, and how active that you were going to be, and how genuine you were about, really encouraging kids and inspiring children for the both the love of the game, but just, doing it in such a way where it wasn't about you, it was about the game, it was about mentoring and love. And then, one of the moms who was talking to me was like, you just have to marry him. And I mean, this is pretty early in our relationship. You just have to marry him. And at some point I did see some father of one of these kids who was sitting in a Ferrari, not even attending his child's game, reading the Wall Street Journal. And I think at that point, this woman totally sold you. And she sold you so much that that was the night that, after we left the little children's party, and you were like, where are we going to dinner? And I'm like, no, we are going home, and we're going to do it. And I mean, I'm serious. Like, this coaching thing was such a turn on that I was like, yep, that's going to happen.
It
That's
was
happening.
it
And I
was
don't think you anticipated that,
no.
but that was like, I need to solidify this deal. I think I'm going to marry this person, and I don't want to marry the guy in the Ferrari reading the Wall Street Journal. I want to marry the guy who's going to be on the sideline coaching our children. I'm a big soccer fan, so that went without saying. And, I was hoping that we would have some World Cup children. Now, flash forward, you and I do get married. We didn't have children right away, despite the fact that we had some fun there right
Right.
after the practice. We didn't have children
What was
right
it?
away.
Wine, cheese, and rubbers? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I did go up to the Publix person, and I went up to the Publix person and I was like, I bet you're wondering what we're about to do. But it was pretty obvious that in the items that she was
Oh, we were all
scanning,
over each other.
which was wine and cheese and some condoms. And then you and I were like kissing in the aisle. She got the picture. So, Publix lady, yes, we ended up together. We ended up getting married and we had some children. But it doesn't end there, because along come our children, and surprise of all surprises, you did not coach them right away.
No, no.
What was your fear there?
I was working late a lot, and
Money?
yeah, I couldn't have. I had to work, and so I couldn't coach because I
With your
was.
schedule?
I was schedule was like late. It was like I got home at like 7 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, you were West
I was
Coast.
West Coast, and yeah, I just couldn't coach. I couldn't do it. I couldn't donate the time. But as soon as that happened, that change happened, I was all over it. And shoot, I think I started coaching Sean at when he was U6, U7, and then we just started from there, and we went all the way to U19. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Now there were some bumps along the road when coaching your own children. First of all, one of the things is you and I are kind of competitive people, and so when you were coaching our oldest son, at the time, he was not a competitive little
no,
kid.
not at all.
He was one of those kids that was chasing butterflies or just talking, surprise, surprise, talking to the other kids on the field. And for him, going out to the soccer field was not about getting the ball in the net like some of the other kids felt. His joy was wandering around the field, spinning randomly, and not being anywhere near the ball.
Yeah, and it took a little while with him, but once he took off, he did great. Super happy, and I got so lucky with so many kids. I mean, I've coached so many kids at so many different levels, and it's kind of fun. I mean, I've been really lucky. Like when started coaching Sean, I really got a great bunch of kids. I mean, Sean was a great kid. Um, all his friends. I mean, he became friends with all of them, and they still are good friends to this day. And they still come over here, and they still call me coach, and I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
no,
love
that's
that
where I
team.
think you really love when they come over here and you get to see all your old players. And what's
Right,
even great is when we're out and about, and you hear somebody say Coach Bruce, and then we try to figure out from where you know
right,
him.
right.
Now, one of the other things I thought was interesting is there is such a thing as sometimes coach burnout. And so you were coaching for so many years, and one time you kind of took a season off, and then we realized that different coaches have different styles, and we
Yes,
were not happy with the coach style that we got, and we also weren't happy with the fact that um, the coach really didn't know
no
the
clue.
strategy of the game, and really thought that the only children that you should put into this game to play, even though all the parents paid an equal amount of money to see their children play. But this particular coach felt like the only kids that should be on the field were the fast kids, and our child was not a fast child.
No,
And so that's when you doubled back down
yeah, I came
and
back.
you got back to coaching.
I think I got burned out because I was doing 4 teams at once. You
Oh,
remember?
yeah,
I had two
yeah.
with Sean, two with Corey, and it was
Well,
it
we
was a
couldn't say
lot.
no.
We
You
couldn't
never
say no.
say
I never
no.
said. Well, the Friday night league was just that. It was a Friday night
The Catholic
church
League.
league, the church
Yeah.
league, and it was so much fun. And it was so but for some reason it got uber competitive, and it should not have done that. And I was like, I can't, I'm not doing this time. So, and there's other things that are going on. And so we kind of backed out of that one. And then we just had our club teams. And that was really fun. And when I got back, full time with Sean and Corey and had some really good teams. I mean, with Corey, we had a couple bad coaches and it was,
They don't love the game.
they didn't
I
love the
mean, if
game.
you don't have a good coach, the kids don't love the game. And then the other thing I think we should talk about is the fact that just because you're good at coaching doesn't mean you're good at coaching every sport. I think you
I
tried
tried
like
basketball. Yeah,
basketball,
basketball's terrible.
and that was like, we have to talk, I mean, that was an epic fail.
Yeah, it was terrible.
You
That
didn't,
was
I
awful.
don't think you had any, there was no, you couldn't see the court. There wasn't a strategy there. You didn't know what skills they needed for
He was in
basketball.
first grade.
Well, he was in first grade, but still, I'm just saying you had
No,
no
I was
business
terrible.
being a
I was a terrible
basketball
basketball
coach.
coach. I had no
There were
reason to.
plenty of coaches that understood basketball that were willing to step in. So
Yeah,
I would say if you're thinking about coaching, you definitely pick the sport you're passionate about and then, kind of stay in that lane
right.
of the sport that you're in.
I,
But let's also talk about, the were there any other values or things or
well, you get to know your kids. I mean, like if you're
yeah.
coaching your own kid, you really get to know your kid and you get to know their friendships. And I know Sean's best, four best friends. I mean, they come over to the house, like I said earlier, and I know them just as well, and I know how their relationship started and where it's at, and I know those kids, and I know what my kid was going to go do if they were going to go hang out. I was not scared. I was perfectly fine with his friend group, and I knew their values. I knew their parents. I mean, and everybody knew me because I was always on the field, and it really
Oh, and the parents. I just want to say, I mean, we were very fortunate.
we were blessed because
We
I've
were
had some
very
bad ones.
blessed that I feel like most of the coaching experience, your assistant coaches were always really pretty good, and some of the parents uh, really did support. Once we created that team that you were just coaching year after year with, the parents understood how you coached and how you
Right.
liked the game. We rarely had, what people talk about, those terrible awful parents. We did have, one mom who came up to me, the coach's wife, right? And was really expecting me to be like, I don't know, the snack queen. And I was like, I don't understand why my husband coaching turns me into some super organizer of snacks. And so the snacks on the sidelines got out of control. And I was so happy when this mother and her high maintenance snack child were off our team. I have to say that after a while, I think we started curating our teams so that we had parents with reasonable expectations that you weren't preparing them for the World Cup. We stayed in the rec league, although I think that you could have easily,
Oh no, I easily could have
easily
done that.
coached travel ball,
Well, I could have. I
travel soccer,
These kids, I had a lot of them move up to
travel
travel
soccer.
soccer,
Yeah.
and they hated the coaches. They hated the league. They hated the way it was run. And the parents would come back and we like, coach, you're the best. You just keep doing what you're doing. We're happy. We're never going to move again. And lo and behold, I had a lot of great years with these kids, and I got to see them grow up. I mean, it was so awesome. I had basically 12, 13, 14 kids that I got to see grow up from 10 to almost 20 years old. So
Yeah. Can I tell you about one of the moments I almost cried in the sidelines because I was so
sure,
happy
go
for
ahead.
you? So I'm not going to remember the details of this game.
I think I know where you're going.
The only thing that I am going to remember is the fact that somehow we needed another goal, and in some random act of gravity of some sort, our goalie
Yeah,
kicked the ball and the ball actually bounced into the opponent's goal.
he scored from about 60 yards out.
Yeah, scored from 60 yards out. And I have never seen you jump and hop and run. And the first thing he did was he ran off the field
Mhm.
and ran up to you, and you guys just hugging on the other side of the field, and everybody just jumping up, and his parents were jumping up. And I was like, oh my god, if I could record this moment. I don't have this on video, but if I could record this moment, it was just one of those great, like, look what I did, coach. And you were ecstatic, and I think that did make us win the game and
We
get
won
to
the
the
tournament.
next.
It was a
Oh
tournament.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
to the next round, and it was random for the goalie to score, which was funny. But at the same point, there was another time on the field where, there's always that one kid on the team that's not the superstar player. And, they're just happy to be playing. They're just happy that you put them in the game. And their parents are just happy that you put them in the game and treat them like a regular player, even though they know their child's kind of slow, or they know their child doesn't have the skills. And this particular child uh, finally randomly scored a goal, and the whole entire team, it was like that to us was the championship game,
Oh
because the
yeah.
one kid on the team and his mom was in tears, because she just was like, he wasn't even one of those kids like, I have to score a goal, coach, put me in. He was just like, I'll play defense till the end of time, I don't care. And he got his foot on the ball, got in the goal. He was just as surprised as the rest of the team. And again, if you had this in slow motion, mom crying, team surrounding him, everybody lifting him up, the other team just being like, that guy scored on us? Like,
You talking
what
about
the heck?
Doug? Are you talking
What
about
the
Doug
heck?
or Andre?
I mean, I don't think I'm talking about Andre.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Andre was a special one. He
So a couple of
his
big moments
parents
there.
did he was on another team and his parents took him off that team because the coach was that bad. And I'd coached his little brother. And so she goes, I really want you to coach Andreas. And his little brother went out and played baseball. And but I want you to coach Andreas. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And he wasn't the greatest athlete, but he had the best attitude to anybody on the field.
Well, that's the thing. I
Yeah,
think you
and
cultivated that
right,
attitude and that like culture. That's what I like.
and the boys, as Sean likes to call them, they all, he had a very good attitude and he always wanted to work hard. He knows he wasn't the fastest. He knew he wasn't going to score a lot of goals, but I put him in situations, and I did this with almost every kid on that squad. I put him in situations where they were going to succeed, and I knew they were going to succeed. And I made a bet one time with a kid. I was like, look, if you score a goal, I will buy you slides with your face on them. I will buy you a pair of Vans with your face on them. And sure shoot, there he did. He hit it, and he scored a goal. Needed that goal. It was, I think, 2-2 or 1-1, and we needed that. There was a go-ahead goal, put the team away. It was fantastic. It was one of the funniest goals ever. And when the season was over, or I think it was a season later, I got it for him. I was going to be his graduation present from high school. I got him, Vans with his face on them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And then,
mean,
you become a part of these kids' lives forever. They're always going to remember Coach Bruce. And then we also had some kids that, girlfriends sitting along the
oh
sidelines.
yeah,
Our son, asked his girlfriend to go to homecoming using a soccer poster after a soccer game. So
yep,
there were some things. And then there were some pregnancies. And then there were some marriages that
yep,
happened really
yeah.
early
It's pretty
afterwards.
wild,
And we've gone to those
Yep.
weddings. And so, I think in general, coaching means you have a footprint on, just like a teacher, on all these children's lives, and you can make it a good footprint, or you can make it a bad experience where they leave a sport because they don't like the way you're
Right.
coaching.
Right.
So I love that we haven't driven anybody away from the sport, or you haven't driven anybody away
Not
from the
that I
sport.
know
I
of.
say we, but the only thing I'm doing is sitting on the
Yeah,
sidelines.
I don't think I have, and I just at the end of the day, I love it so much, and I think these kids feel the passion I have for it, and they enjoy the way I coach. I'm not a there's not a better word for a ball buster coach. I'm not going to make them run 10 million laps. I'm not going to make them do this. To me, coaching is about, for especially soccer, is time on the ball and having these kids touch the ball all the time and knock the ball around. Just knocking the ball around and passing and shooting and doing everything you need to do to increase, the endless amounts of exercise. And you can get that when you're playing with the ball, right? A lot of these coaches seem to me that they focus in on the physical aspect, but they're not getting the touches on the ball, especially with the lower teams, like when you're talking about U12 or U14, where they need touch on the ball. That makes a player so much better. When they get older, they do need the physical part, and that was the part that I had to change my coaching a little bit as the boys got older, to more emphasis on the physical part, the sprinting, the push-ups, the things that make them stronger, physically stronger, that would help us out and help the team out. That's really the.
Well, one of the things I
Getting
really
better.
like that you did as a coach,
What's that?
we didn't suspend anybody for grades. Otherwise, our
Oh,
child would have never played.
school
So,
soccer. Oh,
school, so okay, yeah. So let's talk about this. So we're talking about recreational leagues, not school soccer. There was a little bit of school soccer there, but you really didn't join school soccer until after our children were out of the school,
yes.
which kind of stunk because it would have been nice if you would have been one of the coaches when our children were in that school at that age.
I would
But
have won more
after
championships.
after our kids, yeah, after our kids graduated and moved on past high school,
Middle
all of a
school.
sudden,
Middle school.
middle school, yeah,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you found yourself actually coaching school ball. Talk about
Yeah.
talk about the difference there.
So I got offered the job to do middle school soccer JV, the first JV team, and I'd been helping off and on for years for Assumption Catholic, and it was I just enjoy being around the game now. My kids are older. It's school ball starts, rec ball, and club soccer shuts down when school starts. So it was a way for me to stick around the game a little bit, so I would have something to do. And Sean had just about graduated high school, and I was like, well, I'll coach. Um,
Well, they needed
they
coaches.
needed coach. They needed coach for JV, and the athletic director came to me because he knew I had still helped out with their Friday night league. I still helped out. I did referee for free. I mean, I just donated a lot of time for the game, especially at Assumption. And he asked me to join the JV squad and coach the JV squad. And that was fun. I enjoyed it. I hated the cuts. The cuts suck. I hate
Okay, so
that part.
yeah, so
That was
school
awful.
soccer stinks, and I do have to somewhat, as a coach's wife, there's a lot of things coaches' wives have to do. That could be a whole nother podcast, but one of the things we have to do is know a when it's just cool to ride home in silence after a game and not ask about a lot of details. So on times that you lost, even though you said it wasn't about winning and losing, there were times where on the way home I could see you running through the plays in your
No,
head, and you
that's
would kind
kind
of
of my thing.
beat yourself up there. But when you get into school ball, the athletic director, you want to win the championship. You want to win the championship for the school, for the trophy, and all of that. But the other thing is, gosh, there's only so many kids that can be on the team.
Right.
And, when we were at the coaches banquet this year, several coaches talked about how incredibly painful it is to have to pick
Right.
and have to cut. And not everybody understands why they were cut. And some of these parents don't understand why their children were cut. We also experienced when, one of our children did not get selected for a team. And we didn't understand either. But at the same point, we weren't one of those parents that were going to go up to the school and complain or say anything. But yet there are parents who do. So school ball comes with that caveat. School ball does definitely come with the grades aspect, where the athletic director will come to you
Yes.
because they've checked the grades, and now there goes your lineup, because these poor, we're talking about sixth, seventh, and eighth graders, and they're trying to find their way, and they're getting distracted, and typical, like, kind of with the boys get a little more distracted sometimes. And but it's a boy and girl team.
Right. Correct.
So okay, so not just the girls and the boys.
And I have an equal amount of
Although the
girls as I
girls'
did
grades,
boys.
I thought the girls' grades didn't drop as much as the boys' grades dropped.
I didn't pay attention to that.
Okay,
That
but
wasn't my
anyways,
job. But
yeah,
yeah,
you
no,
had to cut them. That sucked.
yeah, it
School
sucked.
ball.
School ball, that part of it stinks. It really isn't fun. But one thing I did request, and last year I had a really incredible team, but I carried 22 kids on a roster. That is a large roster. And I did get an assistant coach this year to help me out, or last year and this year, and that helped out tremendously. And you have 22 kids. You gotta come up with a plan every single day, or there's gonna be a lot of sitting around and not working. And it's tough. It really is hard, but able to manage it. We won the championship my first year. Second year we didn't fare too well
Yeah,
this
the
last year.
championship was pretty epic.
Yeah, it was pretty
So
awesome.
that was the first time you moved from JV and went to varsity,
Right.
and then you guys like blew
Yeah,
out
we murdered
the
everybody. Yeah.
yeah, you guys. In fact, you didn't even have anybody score on you
Until
one
probably
time. One
I
time.
think
Well, we'll just round it up and we'll say one time.
twice. It
Okay,
happened twice.
twice.
We scored 62 goals and they only scored 2.
And Jacksonville being a small place, you ended up in the championship with somebody that I knew from high school
Yep.
coaching the opposing team, which was so much fun. I mean, it was really it was the Catholic School League, lots of fun.
Yeah,
Now, wrapping up a little bit, but I do want to say this. There's coaches and then there's assistance coaches. And I just want to say that you have had some awesome assistant
I could
coaches,
not do that without.
which none of which has
Yeah.
been the coach's wife. So let's talk a little bit about what your assistant coaches gave that you couldn't give. That if everyone is thinking about coaching out there, if you're thinking about, do I want to be the head coach or do I want to be assistant coach? What has made all your assistant coaches so incredible?
I had one coach give his hamstring. He pulled his hamstring.
Well,
time.
I mean, you're
He's
not
trying
supposed to
chase
injure yourself.
He's trying to
You're
chase
not
down
supposed to injure
the fastest
yourself.
kid I've ever seen in my life.
And sometimes another dad of a player offers to be an assistant coach, and sometimes that's a good idea, and sometimes it's a bad
Yeah.
idea. But among your great assistant coaches, to me, you're not answering the question, so I'm gonna answer it for you.
I got
This
a
is
couple.
this is what I'm looking for. Your assistant coaches are everything that you are not.
Oh yeah.
They are so detailed
Yep.
that we had an assistant coach that remembered to bring waters. We had an assistant coach that really was adamant about like the drills, I thought, and was really good about the drills and really good with communications
Yeah, he's better
and getting
communications
things
than I am.
out than you were.
Yeah.
That's my
That-
opinion of a good assistant coach. And some people might say, well, isn't that the coach's wife? No, it is not. The coach's wife sits on the sidelines, nurses her husband to get over the game so they can enjoy the rest of the day. That was my job. My job was to give up my weekends so that my husband could coach, give up my night times so that my husband could coach, and look, meet all the other parents on the sidelines. And if I hear anybody talking about the coach, put them in their place, because coaches don't get paid, or if they do get paid, they get paid very little. So to those parents on the sidelines that are criticizing the coach, I say, well, you either need to be the coach or you need to support the coach. Yeah. So back to assistant coaches.
So
give me
my assistant coaches. I mean, I've had some grand ones. I had some great ones. I had one he was great. He was always at the field with his stepson, and he was always there. And he always came to practice, and he always helped out. He was a
dependable. Is that the word you're looking for? Okay,
it wasn't that. He was always there, and he wasn't a coach yet. And I was like, Tim, come help me out. And he's like, oh, okay, you want me to help? I was like, yeah, you're good with goalkeepers. You play a little bit of the game. Goalkeeping. Help out with goalkeepers. And I had him do goalkeepers, and he did a great job. And we always had good goalkeepers. I had like Lou. Lou is super organized and super motivated, and he always took care of like the things with the parents at the school. And he'd hear things from the teachers, and he'd take care of that for me. So there were a lot of things that I wasn't very good at. I mean, Tim would he would have snacks on the field, and I didn't know.
You're not good at snacks. No, you don't even know when to present the snacks.
Yeah. So he started bringing these fruit snacks, these little tiny little Welch's fruit snacks, and he'd have bags of them, and we'd be at halftime, and everybody's walking over there and grabbing these little fruit snacks. Who the hell? What? When did this start? Like, Coach, we've been doing this for like 2 or 3 games now. I'm like, okay, all right, and they're like, everybody's eating and we're performing well, so I'm like, well, let's keep it up, you know?
Oh, and I love it that your assistant coaches would actually check the weather and they would bring the umbrellas so that our children were not melting in the sun
Yeah,
or in the rain. And you and I had a tent that would be sitting at home that we
yeah,
did
yeah,
totally did not bring
yeah.
because we did not check that. So
But I was too
yeah,
busy organizing everything in my head for the team, for the way the team's going to play. That's my excuse.
yeah, no, you know, that's the other thing too is coaches spend a lot of time. I mean, I noticed that you spend a lot of time, working on the game strategy and especially with school ball because this comes down to, pride in the school and you wanting to put that trophy in the trophy case. Um that, and sometimes you've even gone to soccer games of your previous soccer players, even
Yeah,
when they're no longer
yeah.
on your team. You've gone to their school ball games, which to me, I mean, I just can't even imagine seeing a coach that no longer is my coach at my high school game. That's to me that just shows dedication to the game and dedication to coaching.
Thanks, but
Well,
I
yeah,
just enjoy. I enjoy the
okay,
game. I just
all
enjoy the
right.
game. It's something to me.
Well, it did a
People
lot
go,
for you. That's all I can
yeah,
say. I mean,
heck
it did a
yeah.
lot for you,
Let's
and
go.
I mean, it got you a lot of places that few people had gone before. But I will say, in kind of wrapping up, if somebody was interested in deciding to coach, what are some of your quick takeaways? If you're talking to somebody and they're saying, "Look,
I want to
someone
coach.
approached me and asked me if I wanted to coach," what would your advice be?
I tell them to be patient. Don't you know? Be fair. Be patient. Enjoy the time you have with these young people because it's really fun. I mean, because you hear everything. You hear how their day is. You learn a lot. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It gives you back. It gives back so much more than I'll ever um, like I could ever give. I mean, it just is so much fun. You just learn so much, and you learn a lot about yourself. You learn where your strengths are. Like, I know that I'm not good at paperwork. I know I'm not good about sending club emails. I'm just not good at that stuff. So it forces me to be good at it. Um, yeah, it you just learn. It's about learning, and it's about having enjoying the moments of you get to see somebody do something that you coached them up. You get to enjoy that moment. Um, it's just it's like a gift. It really is. It's just a gift, and it's so much fun. I'm glad I started doing it. When I did, because I've gotten more out of it than I ever thought I would have.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're still doing it.
Yeah, me too.
And
Not
I
nearly as much as I used to, which is kind of nice. Which is nice now. I mean, it is during the winter time, which is kind of cold, but I really don't care. It doesn't matter. I just enjoy the.
well,
I just
and
enjoy it.
I'm glad that you get so much out of it, and I am happy to always give up that part of the year where I know you are stressed about the season and you're excited and you're stressed and there's a lot of time away where we kind of do our own separate things to
Right.
get our own joy, but that you still have the joy and you still give the joy back. And I don't ever see you stopping from coaching. Do you ever
No,
see yourself stopping? I don't see any burnout factor.
no,
I think you really get a
yeah,
lot of joy out of it, and
I
so
do. I
I'd
do
like to see
love
you do
it.
it forever.
I do love doing it. I don't know how long forever is going to be as far as coaching goes. But I enjoy doing it. It is fun to do, and I love coaching from the somebody that's just starting out to high level players. It's just fun. I just enjoy it, and you know I got players that are high level still come back and say hi, and
Well, that's the other
you
thing
know
is that we're talking about you mentoring people at all ages, and especially those times when kids are going through things, and again coaching them through those times when their grades may not be so good, and then they come back on the team.
Right.
You're like, all right, they're back. Here they are. So, okay, so we're gonna thank you so much for coming on Decision Diaries. Thank you to anyone who is listening, or I really hope that you have discovered that there's some joy out there with coaching the way that you got your joy,
Yep.
and you got other things as well. So people,
Hey, let's go.
I,
Who knew?
I think, well,
Hey,
I mean,
soccer gave me my wife,
yeah, I mean,
two kids.
it's pretty hot. I just want to say, if anybody's out there dating somebody and you're in your 20s, I think dating a guy who coaches children before having children is pretty hot. I just want to put that out there. So, for anyone who's listening, thank you again for listening. Thank you for listening to Decision Diaries. As you know, Decision Diaries has a website, decisiondiaries.com. Please give us some ideas of decisions that you'd like to hear about, people who would like to come on and talk about the decisions. Maybe that's you, maybe that's someone else that you know, and follow us on Instagram.
Hey, yeah, and I found my first team picture the other day. It randomly came across my desk. So
You gonna post it?
I'll let you post it. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I know. I'm a nice guy.
All right, you heard it here. Okay, I'm going with this super hot, nice guy coach,
Woo-hoo.
and we are signing off. Thank you.
Decision Diaries.